Well, hello there. Welcome to the Podcast Accelerator, the thrice-weekly show that brings you podcast education, industry insights, and straight talking reactions to podcasting news. I'm your host, Mark Asquith, that British podcast guy and CEO and co-founder here at Rebel Base Media, the podcast tech company that creates the Podcast Success Academy, podcast websites, Productivity, Rebel Base Studios, and Captivate.fm, the world's only growth-oriented podcast host, where you can get your first month of podcast hosting for just $1 and transfer an existing podcast in completely for free. So go ahead and check it out now at Captivate.fm. Now, today on the show, we're going to dig into podcast download metrics, a primer on podcast analytics, and in particular, which download metrics matter. We're going to dig into that in just one moment. But what I'd really love to do is just draw your attention to the team at AWeber, first of all. Now, email marketing is vital in any podcaster's engagement funnel, in any podcaster's sales funnel. And if you want to create listener support via Patreon, you have to be building relationships with your audience via email. Now, I've been proud to work with the leader in email marketing, the people that pioneered automation in email marketing. Over 20 years ago, I've been fortunate to work with AWeber for a good few years now, and I was on a call with the team yesterday. Brandon from AWeber and I had a really good catch-up, and I'm just continually astounded by how well they are doing at helping podcasters to engage with their audience. So please, if you are not engaging with your listeners via email marketing, please check out markasquith.com/AWeber, and you're going to grab 90 days completely for free. Now, podcast download metrics can be confusing, addictive, and honestly a little misleading at times. So, as a podcaster, where should your attention be focused when it comes to download statistics? Well, that's what I want to talk about in this episode. And really, I just want to kind of set your mind at ease in particular. Now, podcast analytics, they're always in flux, first of all. This is the first thing you've got to understand, is that the Internet Advertising Bureau, the IAB, they work with podcast hosts like us to define measurement standards. So there's IAB certification, which Captivate is going through at the moment. It's a brand new certification that all the hosts are going to have to go through. Captivate is going through that process now. There's varying levels of IAB compliance. So basically the standards that they put out, some hosts are very compliant, like Captivate. Some hosts are a little bit more liberal with it. But the bottom line is that this is a transient parameter set, all right? So the IAB are always working to improve that because it's an industry in flux, all right? So over the last couple of years, people like Libsyn, another podcast host, they saw a massive drop in their download statistics for people because they became more IAB compliant, and that's because the standards changed. And, you know, some people lost 60% of their quote-unquote downloads. Now, actually, they didn't. They actually lost invalid downloads against the algorithms from the IAB. So what we're trying to do as an industry is move towards trying to stop measuring downloads and starting to measure what we think are best chance listeners, all right? People that are actually listening to the show. And download is not the best metric of that, because I could be subscribed to your audio, to your podcast, get a push from you via your RSS feed to my Apple Podcasts app on my phone. A new show gets automatically downloaded behind the scenes, and guess what? I never listen to it. So what's the point in that download? So that's what the industry is trying to work towards. Now, Captivate.fm has been built to be super simple, super easy. And we also actually do a number of things that not other people are doing. You know, not many other people are doing. So we not only give you kind of downloads per episode, downloads per day, we also give you downloads yesterday, the last 28 days, the last 7 days, the last 90 days, the last 60 days. And we give you growth measurements against that. So has your listenership over the last 7 days gone up compared to the previous 7 days and 28 days and so on? Has it gone down, and so on and so forth? So we give you a little bit more data, which a lot of the hosts don't do. And then what we also do is we give you show averages. So what's the average number of downloads that you see over a 7-day period, over a 28-day, on a daily basis? So just quick look statistics that are really, really useful. We also start to do things with Captivate along the lines of just trying to anticipate actually how many loyal subscribers have you got. And we do that using various mechanisms around actually duration since download versus release and all that kind of good stuff. So there's a lot of good, interesting statistics in there. But ultimately, what we're trying to do as podcast hosts and what you should be worried about is the number of listeners. Now, that's a very difficult thing to measure. And right now, the best way to measure this is to not get too addicted to statistics, all right? The best way to measure this right now is to just focus on one statistic for your downloads, which is the number of downloads that any individual episodes get within 30 days of launch. So if I launch an episode on the 1st of the month, how many downloads has that episode got up until the 30th of the month? After that, it's just kind of transient long tail stuff, okay? I would actually posit that it's more like 2 weeks, if not a week, because they're your loyal subscribers. I actually think we can do more with that, and that's what we're doing with Captivate, giving you better data on that. But ultimately, the metric that you should focus on right now, and the only one that you should really be pushing up, is the number of downloads that each brand new episode receives within 30 days of release, because that's what sponsors are looking for. That's what brands are looking for, all right? Because that's the true gauge of potential impact, all right? Is it the best measurement? No. Is the IAB always working on it with podcast hosts like us? Yes. Will that change in the future? Yes, it will. Ultimately, one thing that I want you to understand is that these are all arbitrary statistics. Even though the IAB is the board that manages this platform and manages the industry statistics, ultimately, we are kind of making this up. We're making best practices up as we go along. We've been making them up since 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. They're just evolving, all right? So any metric, any measurement of anything in culture, in technology, every metric has been made up at some point, and it continues. Each metric continues to be defined. Every key performance indicator on the planet, even financial systems, they continue to evolve. You know, you look at the pound before the euro existed against the peseta and the Deutschmark and everything that existed in Europe. Now it's the euro. And, you know, the euro right now is quite cheap currency. It wasn't before. The dollar, it's had its up, it's had its down. You know, we're literally making this up. It's cultural. And IAB statistics, download certifications, and everything that goes with podcast metrics, yes, they're indicators. Yes, we should be trying to put that one core metric up until we can start to measure things better, and that's what the hosts like us, we're working on. But ultimately, you know, they are arbitrary statistics. We are just trying to get them to become better and better and better, and evolution is evolution, all right? It's going to change and change and change, and statistics will change again over the next few years. I've got no doubt about that in podcasting, but right now, don't obsess too much over them. Instead, focus on building the number of downloads that each episode gets within 30 days of launch and trying to up audience engagement, all right? That is what you should be focused on. Now, I appreciate you tuning in. It's always a pleasure. I really enjoy chatting about this stuff. I'm loving this Podcast Accelerator new format. People are really enjoying it. I've had a lot of good compliments about this. We've had some great testers on Captivate's beta, which we're currently wrapping up right now. So thank you to everyone that's been testing. Tom Tate from Edgar. Thank you to Paul Ince from Marketed Live. Thank you to Brian Fanzo. Thank you to Gary Leland. Thank you to just everyone that's been on board, all the Sheffield local podcasters that have come on board to help us test Captivate. It's been a real pleasure to just do this with you. And Rick Clemens, most of all, thank you so much for being the first person to beta test Captivate with us. Now, please remember to tell your friends that this show is completely free to listen to, all right? So if you know podcasting friends that are struggling, please tell them to tune into the Podcast Accelerator. They can listen for free in any app that supports podcasting. And if you're wondering what the best next step to take for your own podcast is, whether you're a new or a veteran podcaster, please go ahead and take our short 5-minute survey where I'm going to help you to diagnose and solve the main issue holding your show and your podcast growth back. And I'm going to give you access to our free, vibrant Podcast Rebellion community, some weekly free group coaching from me and the team, and actionable insider-only emails, and even a free invitation to the Podcast Success Academy. So please go ahead and invest 5 minutes now to grow your podcast by heading to rebelbasemedia.io/grow. And until next time, please never forget, the more you expect from yourself, the more you will excel.